Hello everybody and welcome back to the Bayonetta 2 walkthrough. It's time for more extras and the conclusion of the witch trials stuff. Now, we begin with witch trial 4 and then we will be going into witch trial 5, but as you may be able to see from the length of this video, I mean, you might not be able to figure it out, but Witch Trial 5 is not going to go particularly well, shall we say. I mean, it's the furthest that I actually ever got in Witch Trial 5, but, yeah. Basically, Witch Trial 4 and Witch Trial 5 are by far the most difficult in the entire game. Like, they are insane. And what's frustrating is that Witch Trial 4 is kind of sort of technically alright. It's just that they throw quite a number of, well, quite a lot of enemies at you, and quite a lot of aggressive enemies at you. And so it's very, very, very easy to get hit. An excellent tactic that I have totally decided, yes, I'm using, is to make use of the Earrings of Ruin to turn Umbran Climax into summoning the Umbran Armour. Because it is ultra powerful and absolutely wrecks the hell out of whatever it comes against. It's just really, really helpful. Also because it basically stun locks almost any sort of enemy. So you can do some serious chaos with it. Now, you could probably get through this with the Alruna strategy that is kind of, I believe, sort of recommended for Witch Trial 5. But I found that this works pretty damn well. So, I mean, the thing is that with Bayonetta, it's less about having an explicit plan as to how you're going to go about stuff, and it's more about making the most of what you have and just going with the flow. Because, I mean, Bayonetta is a brilliant game for just kind of allowing you to pull stuff back from the brink and just generally being able to have a really smooth gameplay experience. Because you can go from button mashing to actually explicitly realising what combos you're using. And it allows for that entire spectrum, but it also allows kind of for you to have all these different options available. And you can just kind of switch on the fly, almost. Which is great. Also, as you can probably tell, I was ever so slightly wrong with the amount of health items they give you. It's still only one health item in Witch Trial 4, but it does go up come Witch Trial 3, which is an absolute... Witch Trial 3? Witch Trial 5, which is an absolute godsend. Now, as well as having the Earrings of Ruin on, I also have what is a really helpful accessory, which is called the Evil Harvest Rosary. Essentially what it does is, whenever you are meant to get witch time, it creates kind of a ball which will explode and cause mass damage to your enemies. And considering at this point in the game, going into witch time is helpful, but getting that extra bit of damage just makes things quite a bit easier on you. There is the slight frustration when you encounter enemies like our own, as we will be doing very annoyingly shortly, because you have to dodge a lot of attacks very quickly, and while you can easily dodge once you've gone into Witch Time, when you're just using the Evil Harvest Rosary, it can just kind of just catch up on you a little bit. Also, I think I remember being very sweaty-handed and very near having a slight heart attack whilst trying to record Witch Trial 4 here, and also Witch Trial 5. There's just something about Bayonetta when it gets to its highest difficulties where it's just like, oh god, struggling here, oh good grief, everything's attacking really stupidly quickly and I can't dodge, and ah! But yeah, we have the wonderful our own. And as you can see, the Evil Harvest Rosary is helping a lot, because you're knocking off quite a hefty chunk of life at each kind of attack. And because kind of she's so close, she can't dodge it, which is brilliant. So yes, as you can see, Umbran Armour mixed with all of that is so useful for getting through this. And to be very honest, in general, while I don't tend to use accessories that much, it's mostly because I can't really properly effectively use them, but they can do absolute wonders for you. It's like the Gaze of Despair will make enemies automatically enraged at you, which, apart from making the enemies harder, it's mostly there for kind of combo attacks. So, well, at least for increasing the amount of halos and style points you get for each attack. So, the Gaze of Despair is an excellent tool, really. And Evil Harvest Rosary is so useful. Earrings of Ruin are as well. You have Pulley's Butterfly, which, if you have magic, then you can summon, I think it's about 5 butterflies, and they will take hits for you, so you kind of essentially prevent yourself from getting hit 5 times, which, if you know how to use it properly, is genius. There's also... oh, I can't remember what the name of the accessory is, but there's one which summons the little demons, or the little zeros, which attack enemies for you and increase your combo count, and can increase kind of combo lengths as well, so they're very helpful. There's also the Mallet of Reward, which is only really useful in the main story mode, because it's all to do with kind of torture attacks and getting items afterwards. You have Selene's Light. Oh, that's it. Selene's Light means that you, when you get hit, you automatically go into Witch Time. And then it's the Star of Dintea, which, if you taunt, then you get healed, I think. I'm surprised how much of this I'm remembering, to be honest, because considering how little I tend to use accessories, I mean, the fact that when you're playing through the main story mode, you don't have enough halos for accessories, you kind of just get used to playing without them. But either way, we get to face off against Lopta, and we are kind of heading towards the tail end of Witch Trial 4. As you can tell by the fact that my health is getting rather low. I'm just not very good at not getting hit in Bayonetta, which kind of is not particularly helpful, because that's kind of the entire point. Bayonetta is at its greatest gameplay-wise when you are dodging every single attack, getting in every hit possible, and just the smoothness of it all is just beautiful. Like, watching Bayonetta played well is mesmerising. Like, well and truly beautifully mesmerising. It's glorious. And I just wish that I was capable of doing that sort of stuff for you, because it really does just make you want to play more, and it makes you want to get better. And I guess that's another awesome thing about the Bayonetta franchise as a whole, is that the way the game is constructed, I mean, I've already said with the whole button mashy and mastering kind of things, but the game kind of is incredibly accessible, and I would argue that it's one of, if not the most mechanically accessible title that Platinum have ever made. Largely because sort of it attacks things really simple, and it's very easy to dodge, and if you have those kind of core elements, then you could play the game, and you can look badass. But the way the game is kind of constructed is that because it rewards you for playing well, it gives you the kind of desire to actually want to try to improve and to try to learn the combos so that you can get higher rankings. There is also the fact that it flat out insults you if you do badly with the Stone Award, which I am very, very, very incredibly proud to have never gotten in Bayonetta 2 just yet. Because when I first played the original Bayonetta 1, oh god. Just loads of Stone Awards in that. But then I got better at the game, and everything was fine. But we have our final verse for Witch Trial 4 against Boulder. And I think this kind of partially goes to prove that Boulder's is actually technically easier than when he is the Masked Lumen. Because even though I'm still getting hit, and this fight actually is going to take a little while, because he's very, very, very aggressive. Kind of, the next time kind of we face him is gonna be when I lose because of Witch Trial 5, but I don't know, he is just generally easier to dodge and to read. I mean, I still suck terribly at it, but either way, also just this ended up being so ridiculously close. Like, just I was just freaking out. Like, pretty much one more hit would have killed me. But just got in there. Just majorly clutch victory. I've beaten Witch Trial 4, which means that we get the verse card for Sapientia, which was the one that I was missing for so long. It's something that I will explain when I tackle climax, because but we are going to, as you can see, get all of the verse cards for Bayonetta 2, because we've got that bewitchment, and now we are going into Witch Trial 5. Now, I believe that technically I went with a rather bad setup, because it's better to have Alruna on your feet, actually, for getting the combos to make this all really effective. So, the entirety of Witch Trial 5 is on Infinite Climax mode. You are going to be facing off against a ridiculous number of enemies, all of which will block your attacks. And just in general, it's going to be a pain. The reason that Alruna is such an excellent weapon for this, and it kind of cheeses your way through, is that when you go into Witch Time, you can pick up any enemy, apart from the Beloveds, they're a bit too big, but kind of any of the mid-sized enemies, which is basically every single thing that you're going to be facing. Actually, you might be able to pick up the Beloveds, I don't know. But basically, you are going to be able to pick up any enemy and attack them and fling them to the ground, and that particular attack is hugely damaging. Now, the reason that you want to pair this with the Bracelet of Time is because basically you can automatically push yourself into Witch Time, which means that you can get the grab and fling them to the ground, and you can kind of go in and out very, very, very rapidly of Witch Time, which means that you can retain your magic meter, which means that you can get hits off more effectively. It's kind of a brilliantly useful tool, and it's very useful to pair it with the Evil Harvest Rosary, because that kind of explosion gives you a signal to go into Witch Time in order to make your grab. I think the reason that you're supposed to put it on your feet is because the grab comes quicker or something. But yeah, this is easily the most challenging thing to complete in the entirety of the game. Like, by quite a mile. It's ridiculous. Because just you're facing off against so many enemies and so many challenging enemies that are just going to wreck the hell out of you. It's basically why they give you so much health after the end of each battle, because it gives you the strongest possible chance of surviving. And I hate this verse, because you're fighting off against Alruna and Lopta at the same time, which is just awful. And really kind of it builds up like this. We are technically only going to get to verse 5, and you'll see what happens. But basically what I will do now is tell you what you're not going to see. You may get to see it later, but I doubt it. So basically, after the final verse that you're going to see here, you will face off against Aesir on his own. Then there is a verse where you'll face off against Grace and Glory and Sloth. And then you got your final two battles, which are against Bayonetta and Jeanne, and Balder and Rosa. Which, it's all stupidly challenging. And I am, at present, simply not good enough to complete it. If you manage to complete Witch Trial 5, then you will unlock the verse cards for Bayonetta and Jeanne and Balder and Rosa. I think it might just be them, you might get a couple more. That's a very nice and fun way of getting them. However, because you can also get those particular verse cards just by playing Tag Climax normally, you do not need to complete Witch Trial 5 to unlock anything. It's not connected to any bewitchments, and it's, in the end, is not connected to any verse cards that you can't get elsewhere. So the only reason that you will ever need to complete Witch Trial 5 is for bragging rights only. So, good luck if you want to try it. I, unfortunately, am not good enough, and I will die here, because I hate the Masked Lumen. And sticking him with Lopter is just evil. Although, as you will see very soon, I got so close. So insanely close. It's all going wonderfully, and then I think I run out of magic, and it just goes terribly from there. Probably would have had a much easier job if I'd kind of successfully managed to kill off the Masked Lumen, but there we go. We're done. Time to move on to climax, because, yeah, I'm not that good.